Hello and welcome. It's March 11th, 2026, and what I'm about to discuss is something that, in 40 years of theoretical physics, I never expected to see within our own atmosphere. What I'm talking about is the strange reports you've likely seen flooding social media over the past 12 hours. From London to Tokyo, and now appearing in parts of the Pacific Northwest, something unusual is happening. Rain that does not fall like water, rain with a metallic silver sheen, rain that reflects radar. Think about that for a moment. At 4 UTC this morning, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, issued a quiet advisory to aviation pilots to avoid cumulus clouds at altitudes above 30,000 feet. Why? Because their Doppler radars weren't detecting water droplets. They were seeing solid particulate matter. I've spent my career modeling the behavior of cosmic strings and higher dimensions, but the data I am looking at right now is terrifyingly simple. This is not just a weather anomaly. This is not geoengineering gone wrong. This is 3 Atlas. 6 hours ago, NASA's Deep Space Network confirmed a correlation with a probability of less than 1 in 5 billion of being a coincidence. At the exact moment that 3 Atlas passed its closest perihelion point relative to Earth's magnetic field lines, it released a dense, high-velocity stream of particles. We aren't talking about dust or ice, we're talking about an injection. Imagine you're standing in Central Park. It starts to drizzle, but the droplets don't soak into the ground immediately. Instead, they shimmer like mercury. This is exactly what millions of people are reporting right now. And when you analyze the physics of what 3 Atlas just did, the implications are profound. Normally, when a comet releases a tail, it is driven by solar wind, pushing away from the sun. But the stream from 3 Atlas didn't follow the solar wind. It curved and accelerated against solar pressure directly into Earth's orbital path. That requires intention. That requires a delivery system. Let that sink in. We've detected cosmic dust before. We encountered tons of micrometeoroids every day, but this material is different. The specific gravity of these silver raindrops is 3.4 times heavier than water. It shouldn't even stay suspended in the clouds. By all laws of atmospheric physics, it should have fallen immediately, but it didn't. It hovered, it waited, and now it's coming down. I want you to look at the data with me because once you see the timing, the precise synchronization between the Atlas flare and the atmospheric entry, you will realize why the scientific community is in a state of absolute emergency. The question isn't what is happening. The real question we need to ask is, why now? Now, we must look at the mechanism itself because understanding how these particles entered our atmosphere will explain why I'm speaking to you with such urgency. This wasn't a random shedding event. Comets shed dust all the time. It's messy, chaotic, and the debris spreads out over millions of kilometers. But this was surgical. Let me take you back exactly 48 hours ago to March 8th, 2026. At 1422 UTC, NASA's Goldstone Solar System radar in California was tracking 3 Atlas as it moved through the inner solar system. The telemetry was standard, and the trajectory was predictable, and then, in a single discrete window of just 18 seconds, the data spiked off the charts. Goldstone recorded a massive increase in radar cross-section. The object didn't break apart or fragment. Instead, it pulsed. Think about that. A solid object, supposedly a remnant of the early solar system, expanded its surface area by 400% and then contracted. During that expansion, it ejected a concentrated stream of matter directly toward Earth's orbital path. To be precise, the ejection velocity was measured at 3.2 kilometers per second. That's faster than a bullet. That's an exit velocity that requires energy. In physics, we call this a directed impulse. Nature does not typically create directed impulses of this magnitude without a catastrophic collision. But there was no collision. But don't just take NASA's word for it. This is where the story becomes undeniable. At the exact same moment, 1422 UTC, the European Space Agency's Gaia spacecraft, which maps the galaxy with billion-pixel precision, detected an anomaly, a flash, not a thermal flash like an explosion, but a cold, high-albedo reflection. NASA saw the pulse, ESA saw the flash, and then JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency, confirmed it using the Subaru telescope on Mount Aya. Their infrared sensors picked up the heat signature of the ejected plume. 3 independent agencies, 3 different tracking methods, radar, photometry, infrared, all pointing to the same impossible conclusion. 3 Atlas fired a payload at Earth. Pause and realize what this means for our understanding of celestial mechanics. If this were a natural comet crumbling under the sun's heat, the debris field would be scattered. It would drift, pushed away by the solar wind. But the stream of silver particles we're seeing now, it defied the solar wind. The calculations from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory showed that this stream maintained a coherence, a tightness that is statistically impossible for natural dust. It traveled 40 million kilometers in a tight beam, striking the Earth's upper atmosphere at a precise angle of 12.4 degrees. Why is 12.4 degrees important? Because it's the exact angle required for maximum atmospheric skipping. It's the perfect angle to ensure the particles don't burn up upon entry, but instead slow down, cool, and seed the cloud layers. If the angle had been 13 degrees, they would have burned up like meteors. If it had been 11 degrees, they would have skipped off the atmosphere back into space. We hit the keyhole. To put this in perspective, imagine throwing a dart from New York and hitting a bullseye in Tokyo while both cities are moving. That's the level of navigational precision we witnessed on March 8th. The payload mass is estimated at 44,000 metric tons. That's the weight of an aircraft carrier pulverized into microscopic reflective spheres and inserted into our stratosphere. When I look at the orbital mechanics, I am reminded of the panspermia hypothesis, the idea that life is seated between stars. But panspermia is supposed to be accidental, taking millions of years. This event? It took 48 hours. The silver rain falling on London and New York right now is the result of that specific beam hitting the atmosphere. The particles decelerated, mixed with water vapor, and are now precipitating out. But here's the detail that's keeping astrophysicists awake tonight. When the Subaru telescope analyzed the spectrum of the plume before it hit Earth, they found something that shouldn't be there. They weren't just looking at silicates or ice. They saw a repeating spectral line in the ultraviolet range, a signature that implies an artificial alloy. We're seeing materials that don't naturally form in the cold vacuum of space. We're seeing complex metallurgy. The numbers don't lie. Sinalis didn't just pass us by, it interacted with us. And the question we now face isn't about the trajectory anymore, it's about the payload. What's in that rain? What happens when those silver droplets touch the soil, the oceans, or us? The chemical analysis coming in from the ground samples is unlike anything we've ever seen in the periodic table. Now, let's take a closer look at the rain itself, because the real mystery isn't just how it got here, it's what it's made of. The first samples were collected in London's Hyde Park at 5:30 UTC this morning. Citizens reported that their umbrellas were turning a dull metallic gray, and cars were coated in a fine shimmering film. When researchers at Imperial College London placed this rainwater under an electron microscope, they didn't see organic matter, pollen, or standard industrial pollution. They saw spheres, perfectly uniform microscopic spheres. Think about that for a moment. Nature thrives on chaos. Raindrops are irregular, dust particles are jagged, but these spheres are identical down to the nanometer. Each one measures exactly 500 nanometers in diameter. That level of uniformity doesn't happen by accident in a chaotic atmosphere. This suggests manufacturing. It implies design. What we're looking at here is something known as smart dust. Let me be clear. I'm not saying these are tiny robots with little antennas. I'm saying that the material properties of these spheres are highly anomalous. They are composed of a metallic alloy that includes iridium, osmium, and most disturbingly, an isotope of technetium that does not occur naturally on Earth. Technetium, 99, has a half-life of 200,000 years. It's a byproduct of nuclear fission. It's not something you find in a pristine comet from the outer solar system, so finding it raining down on London in 2026 suggests a process of nuclear synthesis. When I first saw the spectral analysis from the University of Tokyo, I had to double-check the calibration. The ratio of iridium to osmium in these spheres is exactly 1.618. Does that number sound familiar? It's the golden ratio, the same ratio we see in nature, in nautilus shells, in galaxies, in pine cones, but we don't see it in metallurgy. We don't see alloys spontaneously forming with perfect mathematical ratios of heavy elements. Pause and consider the implications. If you were trying to send a message across the galaxy, or if you were trying to seed a planet with specific building blocks, you wouldn't use radio waves that fade. You'd use matter durable, heavy, mathematically precise matter. This is not just rain. This is a physical transmission, and the behavior of this silver water is even stranger. Reports from the ground indicate that the water doesn't evaporate normally. When the liquid dries, the spheres don't blow away. They bond. In a lab test conducted just hours ago at MIT, researchers placed a drop of this silver rain on a silicon wafer. As the water evaporated, the spheres didn't scatter, they self-assembled. They formed a hexagonal lattice structure on the surface of the chip. This is not chemistry. This is nanotechnology. We're looking at a material that has the ability to organize itself at room temperature. The spheres use the surface tension of the evaporating water to pull themselves together into a conductive grid. Imagine if you could zoom out to a planetary scale. Right now, millions of tons of this material are falling into our oceans, our soil, and our water reservoirs. If it self-assembles on a microscopic scale, what happens when it accumulates in the gigatons? Is it building a sensor network? Is it a terraforming agent? Or is it something we haven't even conceived of yet? I want you to look at the footage coming out of New York City. The puddles on the street aren't reflecting the sky like water. They have a high albedo, like mirrors. The friction coefficient is 0. People are slipping on sidewalks that feel like Teflon. This isn't just a curiosity. This is an environmental alteration event. The specific gravity of these spheres means they will sink to the bottom of the oceans. They will coat the seabed, and because they are made of iridium and osmium, they are chemically inert. They won't rust. They won't degrade. They will stay there potentially for millions of years. But there is one final property that has terrified geophysicists at the USGS. These spheres are magnetic, not just slightly magnetic, like iron filings, but super paramagnetic. That means they only become magnetic in the presence of an external field. Earth has a magnetic field. As these particles fall through the atmosphere, they align themselves with Earth's magnetic north. We are effectively coating the planet in a fine layer of super paramagnetic material. And what does that do to our communications? What does that do to the magnetosphere itself? The data from the NOAA satellites is already showing a 0.4% fluctuation in local magnetic field strength over the Atlantic Ocean, exactly where the heaviest silver rain has fallen. We are changing the electromagnetic properties of our planet's surface. And remember, this payload came from 3 Atlas, an object we thought was just a rock. An object that waited until it was close to Earth, aligned its trajectory, and deployed this material with precision that defies every model we have. It didn't miss. It didn't scatter. It painted us. The question is not if this will change our ecosystem. The question is, what is it building? Because when you see self-assembling lattices forming in a petri dish from rainwater, you have to ask yourself, is the rain the end of the event, or is it just the beginning of the construction phase? Everything I've shown you, the impossible trajectory, the surgical injection, the self-assembling nanospheres, all of that is terrifying enough. But we're not done yet. Because at 8:15 UTC this morning, something happened that turned this from a scientific curiosity into a global security event. The rain started talking. I know how that sounds, but look at the data from the Arecibo Observatory successor in Puerto Rico. They weren't pointing their dish at 3 Atlas in space. They were calibrating their sensors on the atmosphere itself, and they picked up a signal not from the sky, but from the ground. The silver rainwater accumulating in reservoirs and on city streets is emitting a coherent low-frequency hum. It is resonating at exactly 7.83 Hz. Does that frequency ring a bell? That is the Schumann resonance, the heartbeat of the Earth itself, the natural electromagnetic frequency of our planet's ionosphere. But here's the bombshell. The signal coming from the silver puddles isn't just matching the Schumann resonance, it's amplifying it. At 9 UTC, the U.S. Department of Energy issued an immediate classified Level 4 alert to all major power grids on the eastern seaboard. Why? Because the conductivity of the rain is so high and the resonance so strong that it's creating a feedback loop with our electrical infrastructure. We are seeing voltage spikes in transformers that have no earthly explanation. The rain is effectively turning the surface of the Earth into a giant antenna, and then the unsinkable happened. At 10:30 UTC, the internet traffic in London, where the rain was heaviest, slowed down by 40%, not because of a cyber attack, but because the fiber optic cables running under the streets were experiencing interference from the ground itself. The metallic spheres in the soil are interacting with the light pulses in the cables. Think about the precision required here to create a material that tunes itself to the exact resonant frequency of the target planet. That requires prior knowledge. That requires studying Earth before you even arrive. Sonalis didn't just dump metal on us, it dumped a tuning fork. If this is a natural event, then the laws of physics, as we know them, are broken. If this is artificial, then someone just turned on a microphone, and the scariest part? The signal isn't constant. It's pulsing. Every 14 minutes, the resonance spikes by 300%. It's like a heartbeat, a countdown. When the head of the European Space Agency was asked about this signal an hour ago, he refused to comment. He simply walked out of the briefing room. That silence speaks louder than any data point. We are no longer just observing a comet. We are standing inside the experiment. Let's establish what we know with absolute certainty. We have a confirmed injection of 44,000 metric tons of metallic particulate matter. We have a verified composition of technetium, 9, iridium, and osmium in a perfect mathematical ratio. We have a signal broadcasting from the ground itself at 7.83 Hz. These are not theories. These are documented observations. But one question remains unanswered. One question that the emergency briefing from the World Health Organization carefully avoided. What happens when this enters the biological cycle. Because the rain doesn't just sit on the street, it flows into the reservoirs. It seeps into the groundwater. It is absorbed by crops. If this material is self-assembling on a silicon chip, what does it do inside a plant cell? What does it do inside a human body? The physics suggests we are looking at a programmable matter event. The rain is the delivery system, the water is the carrier, and we are the destination. Right now, as you watch this, the storm front is moving across the Atlantic. It is projected to hit the American Midwest in 12 hours. That is the breadbasket of the world. That is where our food grows. If those crops absorb this metallic lattice, if the very structure of our agriculture is altered at a nanoscopic level, then we aren't just looking at a weather event. We are looking at a planetary upgrade or a planetary overwrite, and the clock is running. NASA's deep space sensors just picked up a second pulse from 3 Atlas. It's smaller, faster, and aimed at the southern hemisphere. The first wave was the hardware, the metal spheres. The signal we're hearing now might be the software, the activation code. If 3 Atlas is a probe, it just finished its primary mission. It has successfully seeded the target, and whatever is growing in those silver puddles, whatever is assembling itself in the dark, quiet depths of our oceans, it's waking up. The question we face now isn't if this will change our planet, it's how deep the change will go. We are standing on the edge of a new era, one where the line between natural and artificial is blurred. What is this metallic rain building, and what does it mean for us? As we move into the next phase of this unfolding event, one thing is clear. Whatever happens next, it will be unlike anything we have ever experienced. Stay tuned, because this is only the beginning. As the storm front continues its march across the Atlantic, the global implications of this strange event are becoming harder to ignore. We've witnessed the physical changes to our atmosphere, the strange interaction with our communication systems, and the eerie resonance that's amplifying Earth's natural frequency. But what happens when the rain reaches the rest of the world's vital regions? What will happen when it touches the most critical ecosystems, the most sensitive populations, or even the food we rely on every day? The truth is, we're standing at the precipice of a transformation that could impact our planet's systems in ways we can't yet fully predict. It's not just about strange rain or unusual signals anymore. It's about a profound shift in the very fabric of our environment. When these metallic spheres self-assemble at a microscopic level, they're building something, but we don't know yet what it is. The rainwater may not just be a carrier, it might be a blueprint, a construction kit, or worse, a system with intentions that we're yet to understand. Scientists are scrambling to analyze the data pouring in from all corners of the world. What is the payload? What is this technology capable of? More importantly, who or what is behind this incredibly precise operation? If 3 Atlas was a probe deliberately positioning itself in our atmosphere and injecting material in such a calculated manner, then the questions about its origin and purpose are no longer speculative. They are urgent. The metallic rain is already changing the landscape, and as it spreads, it's only a matter of time before we see its true impact. The magnetic properties of these spheres alone are altering Earth's magnetic field, and they could have a ripple effect on everything from satellite communications to geophysical stability. That 0.4% fluctuation we detected in the Atlantic is only the beginning. This isn't just about science anymore. It's a global security concern. The properties of this material, the signals it's transmitting, and the resonance it's amplifying all point to something far beyond natural phenomena. If this is artificial, as the evidence suggests, we're not just dealing with a cosmic anomaly, we're dealing with a highly advanced technology, one that we don't fully comprehend yet, and one that is manipulating the very structure of our planet. Now, as the world watches and waits, we must ask ourselves, How long do we have before the full extent of this event unfolds? We've been given a glimpse into a new era, one where our understanding of science and physics may be about to be rewritten. The question is no longer whether this event is real, it's whether we can adapt fast enough to the changes it is bringing. So, as you watch this, I urge you to think about the larger picture. How will we respond to this new phenomenon? Will we be able to harness it, understand it, or will it be something that overwhelms us? The countdown is already ticking, and the world's leading scientists are scrambling to make sense of it. As for the rest of us, we must remain vigilant and prepared for what may come next. This is not the end of the story, it is just the beginning. The next few days, weeks, and months will tell us whether we are ready to face the challenges posed by this unprecedented event. What's certain is that the world will never be the same again. So stay informed, stay aware, and, most importantly, stay ready. The storm is not over, and the questions we've just started to ask may lead us to answers that change everything. If you want to stay updated on the latest developments, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. This is just the beginning of a journey into the unknown.